It's never been more important to talk about motivation and how we feel, than these times. Most people are having to stay at home, wake up in one room, walk into another room, work, and then walk back to the same room. And it seems as if this cycle is repeating itself and has been doing that for quite a while now. This has an effect on you, on your mental well being, and on how you feel and how motivated you are. And today I want to talk about something that's related to that. It's about reaching out to become more, reaching out to be able to do more, to be able to achieve more, throwing away all kinds of excuses that you may have because those excuses are not good enough. So this talk would also lead you to understand a bit more about how Netlight works, and I will tell a couple of stories. I love telling stories, so I'll tell a couple of stories, I'll share a couple of quotes, and so let's get right to it. My name is Kehinde Fawumi. Most people call me Kenny. I've been at Netlight for 5 years roughly now. I do more leadership, organizational coaching, but also agile coaching and topics around that. So you can talk to me regarding any of those topics. Today, I want to start by reflecting on something that really baffles me a lot. If you love movies, most likely you've seen The Lion King, because it's definitely one of the best of all times. The lion in that movie was regarded as the king of the jungle. But not only in that movie, generally in life, of all the animals, we regard the lion as the king of the jungle. And I keep asking myself, why is this? Number one, the lion is not the biggest of all animals. He's also not the fastest of all animals. The lion, by the way, is not the strongest of all animals. I mean, you can name an animal that is stronger than the lion. You can name an animal that is bigger. An elephant comes to mind, definitely. You can name animals that are much faster than the lion. And interestingly, the lion is also not the smartest. It's not the wisest animal. So I keep asking the question, so why is he the king? What makes him the king? But what we come to learn is that the lion is the king of the jungle because of the way it thinks. It is the attitude of the lion that makes him the king of the jungle. Now, this talk is not about lions. It's really more about the part of the attitude and the way it thinks. So, for example, an elephant approaches and the lion is standing. What is running through the mind of the lion is not about how he will be trampled or how he will be devoured by the elephant. What he sees is the lunge. Now, that's despite the fact that the elephant is bigger than the lion. What I'm trying to say in all this is this. It is always the way you think that determines how much you can achieve. It is always your mind that makes you great. And Henry Ford puts it well. He says, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. It is always the mindset of everyone that determines how much they can become, how much they can achieve. And this happens to affect every aspect of our lives, professionally, personally, everything you do, family, whatever. It doesn't matter how big the goal is. The question is, do you think you can achieve that? You will hear people like Steve Jobs, you hear people like Bill Gates, and the great guys that we cherish around the world. And they will say things about how much they believed in themselves, and that led them to achieving things that seemed unachievable. So it's always the mind of a man that makes him great, and it's important to keep that in mind. And I like this quote from Netlight. When in my early days at Netlight, I heard this and I was so taken by it. It says, always be yourself, unless you can be a unicorn. But then always be a unicorn. I like that because, well, everybody wants to be themselves. But the question is, can you be better than the version of yourself that you think of? We should always try to reach for more. We should always try to become more in everything that we try to do. And I think that's cool. And that's in the center of everything I would also talk about in the couple of minutes. I want to tell you a story about how this has helped me in my Netlight journey. I'd always dreamed of getting into organizational coaching roles, and that would mean that I work with senior management of organizations. It would mean that I work with leadership, but it also would mean that I become more and that I'm able to talk, relate, and think at the level of a senior manager. And this was usually what I'd always cherished at Netlight. And I'm so excited because Netlight gives you the opportunity to always be yourself or become more, right? But it's always the case that at Netlight you have the chance to pursue really the line that you want, pursue your career the way you want to shape it. So basically you are in the driver's seat for that. So I got the opportunity after 2 years and a couple of months to interview for an organizational coaching role, and it would be at one of the biggest companies basically in Munich. It's in the media space, and I actually freaked out when I got the call that would you like to interview for this role, because it clearly seems bigger than me. I felt completely unqualified for that, but I've learned never to disqualify myself. So what I did was to basically try to prep myself, talk myself into it, and basically just believe and have faith that I can do this. I actually think I am able to do this. This is not bigger than me. So I decided to go for the interview. I dressed up in my best suit and best tie, of course, and I got there. But just I think 10 minutes before the interview got cancelled. For a while, I was a bit unhappy because I'd prepared and all the tension in me was rising, and I needed to let all that out and just do the interview and get it done with. The same thing happened the second day, because then it was postponed to the next day. It also got postponed again, and then it got me worked up that I had to carry that tension for many days. So when I finally did the interview, I of course passed it, and I was absolutely impressed with myself. I could easily have disqualified myself and say that I'm not able to do that and all that, but it's one thing to pass an interview, it's another thing to actually perform on the job. And so the second challenge was actually being able to, converse and relate and actually, bring the Netlight spirit at that level of quality that we operate with all our clients into that role. And I was able to do that. And this is what helped me to do that. And it's also the core of what I want to share with you today. The first thing is that whenever you feel challenged or think you can't, don't ever worry or become fearful. When you become fearful, it absolutely disempowers you. You lack then the creativity to think rightly. So if there's anything you want to pay attention to with yourself, is don't worry. Don't be anxious. Don't be fearful. If you can get yourself to the point of courage where fear is not a question, I can promise you, you are way better off. The second thing is that don't give excuses for why you can't. Most of the times we are the ones that disqualify ourselves, really. We actually are the ones. I once had an interview. It was with a programming language for which I had no experience. I mean, I was a good programmer, but I had not used that language before, and that was then what I would be using. And then the night before, I randomly searched for questions, and I got that on Google. The next day, that was the question I was asked, and that was super strange to me. It felt like, what's going on there? But one thing I'd learned is never to give excuses for why you can't. You never know what will happen. So just go for it anyway. The third thing is that really, really think big and believe that you can. You have to be able to think big to be able to do bigger things. And that comes from believing in yourself and knowing that you actually can do that. The fourth thing is be creative. Be creative. And for this, one thing you can do is to talk to yourself. I know many people understand, but how much important it is to be able to really talk to yourself and work yourself up. It is so vital. Really learn to talk to yourself. It's amazing how much things you will discover when you start talking to yourself. It's like there are two parts of you. One of you is like completely detached from you, and the other one really knows what is right, and that one is telling the other one what is right, and you're like, and it's really just weird, but it's always that part of you that is able to push you forward. It's like the positive personality that is inside of you, and if you can reach deep down and bring that out, you always can talk yourself into success. The other one I want to talk about really is this: look good. I've realized how important that is, but try it out and trust me on this. Look important because it helps you to think important. Your physical exterior affects your mental interior. It actually does. It really does. But that's for being creative. The other one is ask for help when you need it, or call me. But what I really mean there is that ask for help when you need it. And I learned this a lot from Netlight, and it leads me to the next thing, because and this is just a picture to show you me in action, and this is by the permission of the client to be able to share this picture with you. Don't disqualify yourself. Don't ever do that. Now, in asking for help, Netlight has something called the delivery model. It's like the support system. In this picture, like that horse that the rider is riding upon, so it's like that thing that moves you forward. You can rely on it. It is stronger than you, it is faster than you, and you can absolutely rely and depend on that support system. It's called the delivery model at Netlight, but this is actually how it looks like. The more you are in the middle, that's you, in that reddish color in the middle, and surrounding you is a network of super passionate people who are so eager to help out that when you throw a question to the network, everyone tries to rally around to help you. And that's absolutely how Netlight operates. You can be so sure that when you ask for help, someone will be rushing to help you. And that support system at the moment includes about over 1,200 Netlighters that are super caring and that would be more than happy, to help. Now, I know not everyone here is a Netlighter. Of course, you can be a Netlighter. Again, call me or talk to the hosts. But what's important is that there are people around you that you can reach out to whenever you need help. But recognize that sometimes you always just need to ask for help. It's called 1 + 1 = 3, which means that the cumulative effort of working with another person is bigger than the individual sum of those two, if that makes sense. And this is where I will end, is that capacity, or basically what you can do, is a state of mind. How much you can do is determined by how much you think you can do. So now that everyone is locked down at home, there is a high chance that you feel demotivated. You are left in a place where you feel challenged by tasks that are bigger than you, and you have no direct access to people you would normally ask. I hope this talk has helped to awaken something in you, to be able to think outside of your box, to be able to realize again that you actually can. And if you can reach deep down yourself, think big, believe in yourself, you absolutely will. Because whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're always right. Thank you very much, guys, and I appreciate your time.